the boys started, oh, Paula, stop shouting, you're shouting. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Everybody should know this man is a rapist. And I was shouting, I was shaking, but I never felt more free at that point.
Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Hecate, and this is Finding OK, a healing podcast for survivors of sexual assault and any and all abuse. Today, I'm joined by Paula Mulamula. Paula is the host of a wonderful mental health podcast, Talk Shit with P. Her podcast is about real talk, providing safe space to talk about mental health, discuss real human issues, and highlighting authenticity. She's always shining a light on people who are working hard and pursuing their dreams. She fosters a supportive community that loves to learn. Paula is the shit-talking self-care queen, and there's always good vibes and laughter when you tune in. And now it's time for... Trigger and content warnings for this episode include the following: trauma, abuse, sexual assault, rape, substances, sex, religion, and spirituality. Please check in with yourself and make sure you're all right to continue. I'd like to start with the first question. Are you okay?
To be honest, I don't know if I'm okay. How you live every day, you're trying to be positive and you're trying to be grateful because it's a new day and it could be worse and shit. But when you have so much shit that's not going right, it's hard to actually be okay. But then also, I'm learning not to let my worries affect me because I'm not as religious, but I do pray, and I found God again when I went through my depression. So I learned that if you're praying on something and also worrying, nothing's gonna solve because you're not having faith in God to take care of that problem. So I'm trying not to worry, and I'm trying to be happy. So some days I am okay, and some days I'm like, fuck this world.
I very much feel you. It's,
And
yeah.
like you're like, listen, I want to be okay, okay? I want to be happy, but then you're also like, man, how can I be okay when all this shit is going on? And I also don't want to be that person who's constantly like, fuck, this is wrong, fuck, this is wrong, fuck this. Because I don't want to be a negative person. I want to be a fucking positive light. So I try to be okay, but then I also don't want to fake being happy, you know? That thing, I want to genuinely be fucking happy. Like I strive to be happy. So it's a process.
Yeah. And it's hard too because like you don't want to be negative, but at the same time you have to be honest, and you don't want to be one of those like toxic positivity people that are like, it's like I'm not, going to manifest that negativity, like everything is like sunshine because I believe it is, and blah blah blah, and like rainbow shoot out my fucking ass, and like
Oh
because
my
it's
god,
just
yes!
it's not like that. Like, it's like, no, there's like shit that's very wrong in the world and everything's on fire. And like, and I know that there's a middle ground where like there's some kind of Zen middle ground that I need to find, and I'll find it. But I'm not gonna fucking lie and say it's all good, because it's not fucking all good.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. When people when people are used to you constantly promoting positivity and being happy, they constantly expect that from you. So you feel like, oh my god, I need to present this way, but I'm not being my authentic self if I'm presenting that way. If I'm not okay, I'm fucking not okay. Get over it, and I'll talk. But also, I'm trying to find a thin line with being negative and being positive, but being positive in an authentic space where I'm like, Yes, I'm not okay, but I'm going through this, but I'm happy. But fuck it, no, I'm not happy. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I feel you. Like, and for me, I'm like trying to, like, I don't want to be putting more negativity out into the world, but like I'm
Yeah,
going to be honest about what we're all facing together. And
yeah,
like me being positive is instead, like, it's not, I'm not going to lie to you. This sucks and this is hard and we're all in a lot of pain and everything's very difficult. No one knows what they're doing or how to fix it. And it's terrifying. Like, so like I'm going to be honest. Uh, shit's fucked, and but we're all here together and experiencing this together, and like and so like try to like find that like that
middle ground kind of,
supportive
yeah,
positivity, like the support versus like fake positivity where it's like, no,
yeah,
it's not good. Like, yeah, but just sort of like, yeah, just sort of that thing like, well, we're all in this hole together, like, and kind of like link arms and like, well, we'll figure this out or maybe not. Let's see.
yeah,
But we're not alone. Kind
yeah,
of where it's like, I don't know, like just like figure out an okay place to land with it. Um
yep.
that's certainly what I'm trying to navigate too. I so fucking feel you with that.
Yeah, but I'm grateful for I have amazing people in my life, right? But not all of them I get to see as often because everybody's busy, everybody's trying to figure their life out. But I have these two people. Shout out to Malaysia and Cleta. Without these two people, this summer, this I don't know what I would done because we all go through shit and we allow each other to be open. We don't care if you every day you're going through shit and you need to talk about it. We allow each other to have that safe space. Like Malaysia, me and I work together. We do events with so anytime we meet up, she'll tell me what's going on in our life and we'll talk about it and then I'll share. Then we'll do a little bit in between gossip of whatever is going on in the world to cheer us up. Then we'll talk about business and what we need to change. But we also like motivating and supporting each other and just and these are the people we're like, yo, I'm broke, but I need to get out of the house, and we'll just buy champagne and drink at the park, or just chill at the balcony and smoke a blunt, or but just so that we are not alone and just having that. So most weekends, if it wasn't for them, I don't know, man. Like I get excited about weekends because half of the time I'm home. The thought of like, oh my god, I have so much shit I wanna do, and every shit costs money, and you're not bringing in as much as you want to do for all these projects that you have. So even the thought of going out and spending more money that you don't have is terrifying. But at some point you're like, you know what? The world is tough enough. Fuck it. Let's do something. Let's, instead of just being home and worrying about shit, we'll just do something. It doesn't have to be extravagant or
Yeah.
expensive, or by just being in each other with each other, and either going to dance or karaoke or poetry, or it's just it takes out of our own head and just being there. And yeah, so shout out to those two
Yeah.
girls, man.
That's so important, and that's well said, because you do need those things, like, because otherwise, like, why are you working? Like, if you're not, it reminds you that life is worth living. You have to continuously, like,
Exactly.
instead of,
Because
you can't just be scrimping and saving in order, like, I'll live someday. Like, you have to
and
find
shit
something.
and shit will always come up. They'll always, you'll be sick. A family member will be sick. You will need this. So money, you can't say that I'm away to have a good time later when I have more money and stuff. You gotta live as you're going through shit, because otherwise you will never live, and you'll be. I don't want to exist or survive, which I am right now, but I'm still trying to have a fucking good time as I'm surviving. I don't want to be those people who I'm just surviving through life, or just no. I want to have a good time, even if I'm fucking broke or whatever. God, please, I don't want to be broke forever. But all I'm saying is, I want to have those memories, to share those experiences, and to just, and as I said, most people think when you go out, you have to spend 100, 200, 300. Half of the time when I go out, I didn't even spend $50. Like,
Mhm.
it's just finding ways to enjoy life in a cheap budget.
Yeah. No, and there are definitely ways to do that. Like I loved seeing the Instagram posts of like they pop up on my feed, and like I love seeing your face whenever you pop up on my feed, and it always makes me so happy. And I loved the ones of like you drinking champagne and eating like red velvet cake in a park, and I was like, yes.
And I only spent less than 20 because I went to Publix. If I could have gone to Kroger, I would have, but Publix was closer because Kroger is more cheaper. But I went, I got my cake, and I got. And here's the thing: people think to drink champagne, you have to drink the most expensive champagne. No, I drink a $11 bottle of champagne. That's it. And I
Yeah.
went and I went to the park, and the water, the sea, just chilled, and I ended up running into an old friend who I haven't seen since 2015 when we stalked Rihanna together. But he ended up being, he has moved into this side of town of mine, and we just sat there, smoked the blunt with the water, and drank champagne, and came home. And I was so happy. And I didn't even spend 20 bucks, like more than $20. It was less than $20. And that just makes me happy. I was in
Yeah.
nature, I was chilling, I looked cute, I did some photo shoots. That's it.
Yeah.
Little things make me happy. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing that'll like lift your soul and carry you through the hardship. It's important.
yep.
Mm. I would love to hear a compliment that you've received and that you've never forgotten.
So you see, when I was growing up, right, being a tomboy and shit, I never used to think of myself sexy or hot or any of that because I didn't even care. I love just hanging with the guys and doing guy shit. Sometimes the guys themselves, they'll be like, Paula, we forget you're a girl sometimes. Can you wear a dress once in a while so we remember you're a girl? But then every time I do show out because of my size and my legs and shit, I get the sexual comments. And I used to be such a sexual person. And those comments used to make me so happy until recently when I started podcasting, right? And joining these communities and finally being this authentic self and just being my positive self. And a lot of the comments I would get were how I'm such a positive light with good energy. And I didn't know how much that compliment meant to me until because most when I started podcasting, it was during COVID. So you're getting these compliments from online. So you're like, but okay, you're just getting that from online. You haven't like met me or seen it. So it didn't get in my head as much until I attended the conference Podfest this May, and I met all these people in real life, from the people who have known each other for 1 year but through the screen. So finally being in each other's presence and stuff, and everybody's comment was like, okay, we know you have this energy and positive light on the screen, but it's so much louder in person. That shit stayed with me, like, to know that I bring that energy around people and people resonate with me. And most of these people are the ones who are in my season 5 right now episodes, and they talk deeply about that. And to know that I touch people in that way, that's the most amazing compliment to me. Like, because I don't like negativity, and I don't like being a negative in people's life. I like being a positive. That's why I always tell people, because when I started my journey of healing and finding myself, I got rid of the negative people in my life. Like, if you're bringing negative, I'm cutting you off. And I used to tell people, if I'm a negative person in your life, by all means, cut me off. I won't be mad. You gotta do what's healthy for you. So to hear I bring that positive light and energy to these people, it just warmed up my heart. So I would say that's has been the best compliment ever. Not, I don't care if I'm not hot or I'm not sexy or whatever. Like, fuck it. I'm a positive light. I bring good energy. That shit just makes me happy.
You can be both.
I can be both, but I'll still take the other one over the other.
It's true.
And the thing is, I personally know I'm fucking sexy, so I don't need anybody, whether you tell me or not, I don't give a fuck. But hearing that I bring positive light and energy into people's lives, that means the world to me.
It's very true.
It's easy to be sexy or hot, that's why there are doctors and plastic surgeons. Like, it's very easy to be that, whether naturally or unnatural, but to be a positive light and that.
Yeah, it's gotta come from
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Totally different thing. Yeah.
Yes. So
No,
yes.
it's so true. You do radiate like this really wonderful like warmth and just like good vibes. Like, and ever since like we got to know each other a little bit, like all those years back, and listening to your podcast, even just like it comes through in your voice too. Like, you have such a wonderful voice, and like even just talking to you now, I get those like ASMR tingles that like I used to think of when I got those tingles when I was talking to somebody in person. I used to think of them as I want to be your friend tingles. Like, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but just that like
Yes.
good like if someone's
Yes.
playing with your hair, that like tingle on the back of your neck, that's just like
Yes.
yes. And I get that listening to your voice. I get those like I want to be your friend tingles. It's
It's
just like
weird you
so
say
nice.
that. It's weird you say that about my voice, because I fucking hate my voice. Like, I hate
Really?
editing my episodes because I have to listen to myself. I feel like I'm so loud and like this annoying-ish voice. But a lot of people tell me, "Oh my God, I love your voice. I like listening to you." And I'm like, I don't see it. I don't get it. Like, but thank you. You do the same
Wonder.
for me. You remember when you came to my podcast and what I told you? You have this soothing voice. Like, literally listening to you just comes the fuck out of me. Like, it just creates a safe space.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, like you say that and I instantly like dropped my I was like, thank you. Thank you.
The sexiness came out. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Um, um,
You
what,
even forgot what the
what is your favorite color or color combination, and what do you associate with it?
Oh my God. And this is just the beginning. I feel we're gonna laugh so much in this area.
I think you're right. I think we're get like just like strong giggle post like energy through this whole thing. I think that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Oh, and it's funny because the episode that just came out yesterday from mine, when I was editing it, and I didn't even have to edit, but you have to listen to know if you have to edit or not. And we were laughing so much. I started laughing. I was like, I did not know that's how much we laughed. Because I recorded it all way back, so I forgot. And then I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, we laughed so hard. Like, we were constantly laughing, but I love it. Like, you can tell how happy we were, and that's how I feel right now. So back to your question. Of course, purple. Purple is my favorite color. That's why my logo also has some glimpse of purple. And it's weird because I hate pink, but somehow it resonates to pink, especially since also I have pink hair on me right now.
I love your hair.
Thank you, darling.
You're
But
beautiful.
I love purple, and it's so weird because sometimes saying the word purple brings out my Indian accent. Purple, but whenever I see the color purple, it just makes me happy. It makes me feel safe. I don't know what. I don't know why. I don't know how that came about, but it just makes me calm. Like, I get excited when I see the color purple. Like, I will end up buying shit just because it's purple.
Nice. I turned the little moonlight purple for you in the background.
Yeah.
I had a
But also,
feeling. I feel I just like looking at your logo and like something I was like I feel like it's purple and Yeah.
Yes, but I also kind of like bright colors. Like I really love yellow and green. And then later I came to find out green is associated with mental health, but I like the bright green.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, maybe that's about bright yellow and green. Yes. And it's weird because my house, I decorated it mustard and navy blue because I also like mustard because it's kind of like yellowish and stuff. But yeah, but purple is my die hard, baby.
Nice. Wow, like the mustard and navy, that sounds like really, I like that combination. It's
I
never one that I've like really
know.
thought of, but it sounds like really classy when I
I know.
like
I love
got it in my head.
it.
I like it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Like so anytime I work, because I work at home goods, right? So anytime they come out with mustard pillows or I'm like, bitch, you don't have money to be redecorating. But I be looking, I'm like, oh my God, I want that. I need to change my pillows. I need to change. And I'm like, stop it, stop it, stop it. Wait.
If I had to summon you in a ritual, what 5 things would I need to place as offerings at each point of the pentacle on the floor?
Um, a journal or notebook. I'm constantly like, I can never go anywhere without a notebook or journal. I swear I buy so many. And recently I've started also gifting them to people. I feel like my friends need to start jotting stuff. So I buy, I get excited when I see that. And weirdly stationary as well. Like I like if I tell you how many corners in my house has, because I have too many of them. When I was in college, when I would go to school, one of my favorite thing was going to the stationery shop and picking up my stationery. Like I could stay in that place for like 5 hours, and I would want everything. Even my dad would be like, "How many pens do you fucking?" I'm like, "I don't know, but they're cute, they're cool."
Not
So
enough. You don't
yeah,
have
you
enough.
can never have enough. Yes,
Very
even
judgy.
yes. Oh my God, I would. Even my dad got because he got so used to me buying that. So anywhere he would go, where they would make stationaries with your name, fancy ones, he would make them for me and send them because I
Aw.
love stationery. Like he would literally be like, I had notepads with my name, and I had like, I am a stationery freak. Everybody at school was like, we can't wait to see when you have an office, how your office will be. I'm like, bruh, everybody will be coming stealing my stationery because I'll be the one who's wasting all our money on just adding up on stationery.
Aw.
And then probably a book. I love reading. I buy too many books. Right now I'm reading Gabriel Union's We Are Going to Need More Wine. I'm
Mm.
finally getting the chance to read that, but I read a lot, not as much as I would like to these days. You know, you grow up and there's so much shit you have to do that 24 hours feels like so little with
Yeah.
the list of shit you have going on, and the day goes by so fast. So that will be it. And then I am I'm not big on jewelry as much, but rings, I love rings. So, you know, you gotta put a ring over there. Like, I get excited about rings. I have so many of, even from primary where my friends used to give them, and I still have those rings. And I don't, even when they go, you know, because sometimes you buy cheap rings because they look cute, but then they start dying out. I'm not throwing
Yeah.
it, I'm keeping it, I'm wearing it. I don't care. Like, if I love it, I love it. And, how many are those?
Aw.
Three?
I think that's 4.
Yeah, what would be the fifth one? Let's see. Ah, hoodie. I'm such a hoodie girl. Like if I could wear hoodies throughout, like I love hoodies, and not just hoodies, but even sweaters with like, I just love having something to cover me. It's like a shield. So these days I'm learning to buy even t-shirts or dresses with like, yes, that's me. Like I can
Oh,
buy a jacket or shit.
dress
It,
with a
yeah,
hoodie is
yeah,
so cute.
yeah. So I think that those will be the 5 items. And if it's
Nice.
not toady, maybe you could also put a blunt there. That could work.
Yes. We could do that. We could put that right in the middle. So I like it. Well, like we'll set up your 5 items and then light up in the center and wait for the spell to work and for
Yes,
you
like
to
bring
show
it
up and then
on.
offer it. Yeah, that sounds good. Awesome. And
That works.
and what are 3 essentials to your self-care?
Well, number one, gotta always have champagne and a blunt. Like they go together, so they are one. You know, I gotta have the champagne and a blunt. And if it's not champagne, maybe beer. But when I'm self caring, I prefer champagne than beer and my blunt. And then bubble bath. You know, bubble bath. And then a book or a Netflix show. I can binge like literally. But yesterday I was doing my hair. I binged on 2 shows while doing my hair. I binged on Bling Empire. I just love trashy TV. Something about it, and somehow I get a creative ideas when I watch them because they be doing some stupid shit and stuff. And you're like, you know what? That could turn out, or I get episode ideas because of the shit they be going through or stuff. So whenever I want to find my creative side, I binge trashy TV. So yesterday, while I was doing my hair, I binged on Netflix, the Bling Empire. It's an Asian show, rich Asian people. Oh my God. I didn't know how poor I am until I started watching the show. I'm very poor, like very, very poor. Like I don't even know I'll get to that level rich, but it's a motivation of, oh my God, that life exists. Okay, cool. And I binged watch on Too Hard to Handle, the Brazil one. The new season came out. So those people went bankrupt in 24 hours. The highest in the show, but yes. But yeah, so a book and or a Netflix show, depending on the mood and vibe I am in. So yeah.
So I wanted to kind of start by asking about how you got into podcasting and what your podcast has meant to you.
So during COVID, this is a very funny story. I went through a breakup in February, right before COVID, right? But then I was busy. I had 2 jobs. You know, me and my friend Malaysia were planning our 420 event, so I was busy. You know, when you're breaking up, and the guy at that time had just moved back to Canada, so it wasn't even over here, and you don't think about it. You're like, fuck it. And then COVID happened, and then I got stuck at home with no shit to do. So we were drinking a lot, you know. I was living at that time with my roommate, who his brother was in town, and his boyfriend. My roommate that didn't drink much, but she cooked, so she was the person who was feeding us. And the brother and the boyfriend drank. We'd be like, even at 8 a.m., oh, we're going to the liquor store together. Yeah, let's do it. We would always, so we were drinking a lot together. And good thing the building I lived at, I was very close to my friends. Like one of them was walkable distance, the other one were in the same building. The pool area was closed, but the barbecue area was open. So we would be like our quarantining buddies that would chill at the, because it's an open air, we need fresh air. We would have space between each other, but we would just chill there and drink, and just because too much was going on in the world. So I was drinking a lot, and I'm an overthinker, you know. I live in my head. The cancer in me has the best, like, so you drink, you're with people, you're happy, you go home, you're by yourself with your demons. I go in my head, I start thinking about my breakup, I start crying. And then in the beginning, when the lockdown happened, nobody knew how long COVID would last. Nobody was taking it as serious until more days were added and shit was getting real. And you're like, then in my head, I was like, man, do I check on him? Do I not? But I want to know if he's okay and shit. And I ended up writing a very shitty ass email to him because we had blocked each other everywhere. And it was kind of like me saying all the things I didn't say when we were going through the breakup. Because I was at that time when we were breaking up, I was already over the shit we were constantly fighting about. So when it ended, I was like, fuck it. But then I had time to myself and to process things, so I wrote my piece and then I ended it. I hope you're okay, because I do want you to be okay. This was a person who I truly loved. He was my soulmate. We had plans with our life together and shit. So it wasn't just like, So I went on Twitter because I'm a Twitter venter. I love Twitter. Like, Twitter is such a space where you laugh, you cry, you just talk shit. So I wrote on Twitter about the email I wrote, and one of my friends was like, you talk a lot of shit on Twitter. You should start a podcast. I was like, you know what? I should, right? Because a few years back, me and my two other friends wanted to start a sex podcast because sex is taboo in our country. And I like talking about sex. I like having sex. I like exploring. But most of my African friends find me weird because I'm constantly talking about sex because they didn't grow up talking about sex. But I was raised more American because of my father's background. So I talk like I'll go out, and if I do something, I'll be excited to share with my friends. Oh my God, guess what I tried yesterday? And they'll be looking at me like, did you have to? Like, even I remember the first time I made a sex tape, right? I always wanted to make one. And when I finally did, I didn't want to send it to my friends because I didn't want anybody to have it. But I did a watch party for my sex tape because I wanted to show people how good my sex tape was.
I never knew that was an option.
Like, you don't want people to have it, so just show it to me. No, but it wasn't really like, oh my God, come to my sex. But it was like we were just chilling, and this was my first white boyfriend because I didn't want to do my sex tape with my the people who I was dating, African people, because men would have sent it to their friends. Next thing you know, my dad on WhatsApp came out of it. So when I dated the first white guy I dated, I was like, I'll do it with him because even if he sends it to his friends or whatever, they don't know me, they don't know my family. Like, until it comes back to my dad or ends up where people are gonna see it, it's really not that. So the girls I was hanging out with, they're like, oh, but Paula, there's that saying of white men, small dicks, so they don't. I was like, the way I love sex, you think I'll be with somebody who can't do that shit? So I was like, wait, we're gonna do this. Y'all gonna watch my sex there. And some other friends who I called from back home, and I would on the Zoom, and then I would hold the phone and they would watch. So that's why I wanted to have a sex podcast, because I feel like most female feel like sex is just for men. Like, no, you're supposed to enjoy it too. You're supposed to experience. You're supposed to know yourself. You're supposed to play with yourself. How else are you gonna know what you like or not? So all those stuff. So we are gonna start that, but schedule. You're not trying to do a show with two, three people. Everybody's schedule gotta be right and shit. So it never worked out. So I couldn't do it by myself, because who starts a sex podcast by themselves and just talk about sex? Like, what's the point? Like, you're supposed to have somebody who you like talk and bounce back to each other and stuff. So the entire idea of starting a podcast went away until this girl brought it up again. And I call her my manager because we came up with her. She was like, yeah, start a podcast. I was like, yeah, cool. We're going to call it. What are we going to call it? She was like, well, you talk a lot of shit. I was like, yeah, I do. So Talk Shit Whippy was born. I started getting excited about life. I literally woke up the next day and showered, which most of the time I wake up and go to the fridge and get a drink and start drinking until I figure out, well, there's nothing else to do because everything else is shut. So I woke up, showered, went on Amazon, started ordering a desk to create my office. Like I felt like, oh my God, I'm getting excited again about life. I didn't drink for almost a week because I was just busy about what mic to order, what, laptop. I was calling my friends to get a label, a logo made. I was having conversation with my brothers. I'm gonna start a podcast and shit. And then it came, okay, so what is it gonna be about? What's my first episode gonna be about? And I was like, a few years back when I first started talking about depression openly into the world, I had started a, a, a thing called Life with Paula, where I was talking about my journey with depression, and we made a WhatsApp group with people who are suffering from mental health and stuff. So I was like, since I've been authentic and open about my mental health struggles, I should turn my podcast into a safe space where anybody can come talk whatever shit they want to talk about. It might not be important to other people, but if it's important to you and you want the people to know about it, well, then here's your safe space. So the first episode, I made it about my struggles during COVID with drinking too much and going through a breakup and being broke because there was no work, was shut down, and I wasn't getting unemployment or any of that. So, and I was so scared. I think the recording part was the easy part. The releasing it to the world was the other part. I recorded it, and the day I had to go post, I was like, fuck, this is me telling people what the fuck is going on. And I got a lot of good feedback. People were very supportive. People was shocked how I was going through all that, and I didn't know. People volunteered to help, and I realized how much impact sharing your story can bring to the world. So that's what I wanted my podcast to be about. Like, share your story, because you never know who it's gonna touch, who it's gonna help, who it's gonna reach. And it's weird, until today I've never listened to that episode. I can't, but it was until I think last season, but it was one of my most listened to episode. And it just made my podcast be an open space, and a lot of people throughout. I've had my sister talk about her postpartum, and if anybody knows my sister is a bougie as fuck. She doesn't talk about her problems. She's always looking good and looking rich. You wouldn't even know if she's rich or not. She's gonna have that. So for her to come, she had a COVID baby, and she had all these big plans of how she's gonna have a baby, where she was gonna have it. Then COVID happened, and she had to redirect everything because you can't fly out, you can't do shit. And then she got hit by postpartum, and people don't talk about that. People just talk about, oh my God, the happy side of pregnancy, but they don't talk that the times you hate your child, but that is not hate, but you dislike your child, but it's what's going on mentally. So she came and talked about that. My brother came and shared his journey with being a recovering addict, because he was a drug addict, and now he's clean for almost going 10 years. My cousin sister came talk about being an Oreo. I didn't even know what the fuck being an Oreo was until she came on my show. And I've had people come and share their story about surviving breast cancer, going through diseases. So, it's a mixture of both, but also I advocate for mental health, and I want every episode to touch on that. But also there's a season where I just highlighted, I hate this thing where we see a lot of people out there that are building their brands or starting something and working so hard without any help, having to figure it out and creating shit, but nobody will give them their flowers until they become known. You have to be on certain level, and then everybody's like, oh my god, what you did was so amazing, but you have been watching them do that, but because now the world is recognizing them, that's when you also want to give them credit. So I wanted also to highlight those people, because now I'm building my brand, and I know how much shit has to go into this, especially when you don't have the financial and you're just kind of figuring it out as you go. So I had photographers, editors, DJs, whatever you're doing that you're creating from scratch by yourself for yourself. I wanted to give people their flowers while they were still, because I had magazines that they're not big or anything, but they reached out to me and wanted to feature me and hear my story. So I'm like, if they're giving a
Awesome.
platform to a leader or me who's still out here figuring it out, I want to do the same on my platform. So, kind of like, but also highlighting and advocating for mental health. So it's been an amazing journey. I love it. I never thought I would love it as much. And I want to keep growing it and just being part of a solution and a safe space for people to just be their fucking self.
You've been doing an incredible job, and it is incredible tuning into your podcast and hearing just you're just so real, you're so authentic, and I think that's so important when you are making these spaces for people to talk about this very raw stuff. And thank you for shedding light on all of these incredibly important things that are happening to people, and they end up feeling so isolated, so alone with these very real experiences that are shared, that so many of us share, and there's just this huge stigma, and thank you for helping break that stigma,
Well, you're
because
doing
it's
amazing too, because you're doing almost, well, you're doing way, because I don't know if I'd be able to listen to all the stories and be okay, because I've had some stories in your platform, but you are giving these women and these people a space to heal, and that's important in this world. So thank you too. And also, it's because of people like you, people like us, keep it going. And for anybody who doesn't know, she was also on my podcast. I think it was season 3. So thank you to you too for sharing your story and your journey.
thank you for having me. That was like the first time I had ever guested on anybody's podcast,
I
and yeah,
was your fan.
and it was so scary, but it was so important too, and gave me so much courage and just made me feel like someone was listening,
Oh
and like, oh
yeah,
wow, I'm actually doing it, like,
I
but
love having you. And that's the thing about podcasting. These communities, it makes you meet people you never would have. It makes you have conversations that you never thought you'd be able to. It makes you heal without knowing you. Like, I every time I speak on something or go on people and I keep talking about it, I keep healing, and I didn't know how much that was important, and podcasting has brought that. So it's something. I
yeah,
love
I
it.
relate to that. Yeah, it's you just like you as you pour so much of yourself into it, you realize how much growth and how much healing is actually like happening as you move forward. You look behind you and you're like, "Oh wow. Okay."
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it, it's just been really interesting, like, because we've just been this like these like this orbiting like support like via social media, like since COVID, since we first connected, and both of us doing like similar work in different ways, and just kind of like touching base with each other every so often, and just like
Yes.
showing love every so often, and it's just been really really beautiful, and also just really wonderful to hear from somebody else who whose life has been transformed by like podcasting. And I loved being able to like listen to the first, like when you spoke at Podfest, the first time, just hearing like your talk about how
To health
like this
saved.
this affected like your mental health, how beneficial this was for you. And I loved that.
I
Um, yeah.
I tell people I when I started podcasting, I wasn't sure if I was gonna love it, if I was gonna last, if I was gonna do it. But it's amazing how the podcasting community, whether it's the Buzzsprout or the Podfest, but that community, those communities have such big support and free knowledge, and people are just willing to help and support you way more than my fucking friends and family. And you're like, yo, this is a community I want to be a part of. So I know I'm never going to be wrong when I have this kind of support. And it has just grown tremendously. And there's so many people who, like, y'all, I consider family. And I've known virtually just 2 years from doing this. But it's the impact that y'all have made in my life that is like, wow, this is a community I want to keep on going with. I want to keep on giving back because they give so much to me. They pour so much love and knowledge, and it's incredible. Like, I tell anybody that I don't know if other communities are like this because I haven't done any shit or joined any other community, but the podcasting community, that shit is a big old family that's just filled with love and support and knowledge, and I just love it.
It blows my mind. Like my biggest experience of it was joining like that the Buzzsprout Facebook group, and just like that was the first time that I was exposed to just this massive group of other podcasters and people who were doing this kind of work, and just like it's like stumbling into a room where all of a sudden like everyone wants you to succeed, everyone wants you to have the tools, to have the knowledge, and they're willing to just like shower you with it. And just like being in that kind of space, you realize like, oh wow, all the other spaces I'm in aren't like this.
Like,
Hmm.
like such support is there, and you're like, oh my god, this support is actually exists. And when
Yeah.
I tell you, especially for the Podfest one, right? You feel the love online virtually whenever they do this. But when I was in there in Orlando, in that space with this, I was like, I need to go to more conferences because the vibration I got, the people, oh my God, podcasters are just incredible people. Like, I love it. I was like, I know. First of all, your conferences need to make them cheap because not everybody can afford that shit. But my plan is to go to as many as I can. But if I can't, Podfest will always be one that I will always try to attend. But it's incredible. Like, I love it.
I really want to go. I had trouble just like navigating the online one. I would really love to go to like the in-person one someday. That's definitely on my list. I hope they come to New York someday. That would be cool. When I had guested for you on your show, you had mentioned that you had a story, that you had a survivor story, and that you had never really shared it, and that one day you might want to join me on my show and talk about it. And so here we are. And I wanted to ask, and you can still say no, I wanted to ask, are you comfortable talking about it? And do you want to share what happened?
Yes. It's funny, right? You think you're ready to share, and you're ready, but you're also like,
It's, yeah.
yeah. So when I was in Malaysia, I survived a rape, and it's something I blocked for the longest time because I didn't want to accept it. And it really did change me. So we have this group of friends who we go out. You know, you're in college. What else you do? Go out, turn the fuck up, drink, you know. So we normally go out and hang out, and after the club, because most of them closed at 3, 4, people still want to drink. So we go to whoever decides to host, you know. You go to whoever's house, you buy more drinks, you just chill, whatever. So I'm a person who, when I get drunk, I want to sleep. Most of the time, I would leave and go home quietly. I wouldn't even say bye because my friends are those people you say bye. They're like, no, no, stay, one more, one more. So I would normally just leave. And then when I get home, I would text and be like, I'm home. Don't look for me. Y'all have fun. You know, because you don't want people also to be trying to figure out where you are. Like, oh my God, where did she go? Did she get kidnapped? Did she get lost? Yeah. So, I was drunk and I went to sleep in the bedroom, and I have no idea what happened. Next thing I know is one of my very good friends who I also used to be with her in UK. We were together in UK. Our families know each other. I moved to Malaysia. She was also there. She's like my big sister. And next thing I know, I hear a voice shouting at somebody who was on top of me. And my panties were halfway. So I wasn't sure if he had already done it or he was about to do it. And the guy, that's the fucking fucked up part. He was a guy who I went to high school with in Uganda. So it's not like somebody who I don't know. Like we have known each other for a long time. And people used to call him, he had a very, okay, if I end up saying, I was going to say something, but people might figure out who he is, and well, I don't care at this point. But he had a weird head, you know, so we used to make fun of his head, and most girls didn't like him because of his attitude or shit. But I was a tomboy, so I got along with guys, but that doesn't mean I want to fuck you or be with you. I just liked hanging out with guys. So my sister started shouting, what the fuck are you doing? Get off her. And you know, you're not sure if you're dreaming or you are there. So I heard the noise, but I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then she got me and she started so the commotion was going in the bedroom, and some people came, and she was like, no, we're not going to make a big fuss about it right now unless Paula wants people to know. So we got out. She got me out of the bed. We went downstairs. We were trying to leave, and at this point it was in the morning. Like the sun was out, and I still wasn't fucking sure what the fuck was going on, and I just knew my sister. I call her my sister. Was very angry and shouting, and people started coming downstairs like, yo, what's going on? Why are you guys leaving? Why? She's like, no, we gotta go. So we went home. I showered and I slept. I didn't want to talk about it. I just felt so ashamed. Like things were starting to make sense, but you know where you don't even want to ask because you don't want to know. Then when I woke up to eat, it was in the evening, and I was like, so my sister came and was like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not sure. Can you tell me what's going on? So she was like, oh, I found him on top of you. I'm not sure if he had finished or he was about to start, but we can go to the hospital and check so that you can figure out what the fuck is going on. I was like, I don't want to know. She was like, you're sure? Because after a certain time they won't be able to figure it out. So this is your window. I was like, I don't want to know. Because I was embarrassed. And you're trying to be like, it's my fault. I got drunk. I passed out. Even though I took myself to the bedroom, this man literally came to the bedroom to find me. But I didn't want to know. I felt it was my fault. I felt I shouldn't have put myself in that position. So I didn't want to know. And I started crying. She hugged me and I blocked it. You know where you just don't fucking want to know. But I didn't also want to be around those people. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to go clubbing. I didn't want to see anybody because in my head there was so much going on. Like, I'm blaming myself. I'm embarrassed. But then again, I'm like questioning, why the fuck would you do it? Did you do it? Were you about to do it? And then I'm also wondering what other people know. What did he tell other people? What part do they know? What are they thinking about me? So it was all that shit going in my head, and I just didn't want to see his face, so I hid. And it took me a while, but every time my sister went out, I wouldn't go out. And every time he saw that man, she would just cuss at him and start something and tell people, can you all still be hanging out with him when you all know what he did? And he kept saying, I didn't do anything. I was drunk. I don't even know what the fuck is going on. And this is things I'm hearing from when my sister comes home from the club, because I wasn't going. I wasn't. And he tried to wanna meet up with me and talk, but I wasn't in that space. I didn't want nothing to do with him. And nobody ended up saying anything, which also bothered me more because regardless, I felt like, apart from my sister, I felt like nobody stood up for me. And the fact that they were still hanging out with him just made it even worse. That means you picked a side that, oh, just because he was drunk, it was okay. And I think what hurt more was, I was a tomboy. These were my boys. So to have your boy do that and the rest of your boys still on that was the more painful thing. And my life changed after that. I realized that as much as I love partying and drinking, I had to be careful who I'm around. And so I stopped hanging out with most of those. I stopped. It's funny because I think around that time, right, I ended up losing my passport. Not at the same time, but after a few months. I ended up losing my passport as I was going to school to renew my visa. So I had to go home for a minute. And when I went home, I hid. Like, it felt like a new surrounding, because in my head I was like, people back in Tanzania don't know this happened in Malaysia, right? So I kind of found myself again, but in a more stronger person, where I realized that people are gonna label you whatever the fuck they want, whether you're in the right or wrong. And I took charge of my own sexuality because of that. So I ended up using sex kind of as a weapon, kind of destructive. Like, I didn't want to date, but I was gonna fuck whoever I wanted to fuck. And I just became a whore for a minute. I was like, since men can literally do anything with no consequences, right? They can just take. So let me do the same. And then my passport took longer, so I had to I couldn't go back for my semester because I had missed half of it. So they had told me to start all over again. So when I went back to Malaysia, I stopped hanging out with those people. I stopped hanging out with the Tanzanian community. I stopped going to the Nigerian African clubs. I started hanging out with my Malay people. I made new friends who one was Sri Lankan, one was from Dubai, one was two were Malaysians who we would drink at school in campus after class. We had our spot in Starbucks, right? We would literally serve that seat, would go to class, leave our bags there. Like, even Starbucks people knew that table was the ours. And we'd get the Starbucks cups, would bring liquor from home and pour it into the Starbucks cups and just chill, or meet up in our houses and smoke blunts and eat. And people didn't see me. But I think deep down, I was still kind of embarrassed that I allow myself to be in that situation. And I felt bad for myself. And then I started having regrets of not actually going to check and finding out if I was actually raped or about to be raped. And that shit distracted me a lot. And I think I was using my new group to hide out, even though I was enjoying it. And I was literally half of the time in my house, which I liked it because I learned how to be my own person and figure out who the fuck I am. But I also felt like I was using it as a hiding out because I didn't want to face them. They were still like, what are they thinking about me? What do they talk? What do they know? So I finally told my sister I was ready to face this motherfucker. And whether he did it or he didn't, until today, I don't know. But I do know he was trying to do it regardless, because you were on. And I met up with him. I didn't set up a meeting because I was like, you don't deserve me setting up a meeting. What you deserve is me popping up on you. So I did a pop up. He was chilling with his boys, drinking. And those same boys were supposed to be my boys. Oh, I went off. At this point, I was like, unless I speak up and cuss, I'll still have that I'm embarrassed inside of me. And I shouldn't fucking be embarrassed because I did nothing wrong. Yes, I got drunk. So what? That does not mean because I got drunk, you have the right to take something from me.
Yeah.
So I faced him and I called him a rapist. And he kept on saying, oh, I didn't rape you. Oh, that's not what it is. I was drunk. I'm like, oh, so it's okay if I'm drunk for everybody to think you can take, but It's okay for you to be drunk and wanting to commit something. Make that make sense. And the boys started, oh, Paula, stop shouting. You're shouting. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Everybody should know this man is a rapist. And I was shouting, I was shaking, but I never felt more free at that point. At that point, I never felt more free because at this point, I didn't care who knew. At that moment, I didn't care who knew or what they thought or how they felt, but you trying to make me feel like I did something wrong by getting drunk, that was not right. So I did call him a rapist, and I did tell him of his face, and until today he says he didn't do it. I don't know if I believe it, but I felt good after there. I know I didn't, I haven't shared the story out openly or whatever, but to me that was my moment. That was my moment of letting go the embarrassing shit I felt, the being judged, the questioning what people know about the situation, and I cast everybody who was there that still hanged out with him and never came to me to ask, to question, to wonder whether I wanted to talk about it or not. You, as my boys, my friends, you should have come to me and let me tell you, like, I don't want to talk about it. When I'm ready, I'll tell you. But none of you showed up for me, but you're constantly still with this man who might have or might have not raped me, but still was thinking about doing it regardless. It's that part, because people kept on saying, oh, you were both drunk, you're not sure what happened. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I was sleeping in a room. It's not like I pulled his hand and we went to the room or something. It doesn't matter. I was sleeping in the room. He came way after into a room, found me sleeping, and tried to do whatever the fuck he wanted to do. That was the problem. So whether I was drunk or not, whether he did it or not, he was planning to. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, so what if my sister hadn't walked into the room?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so
And
that,
you were unconscious in a bed, surrounded by people you thought you could trust.
thank you.
Where is the fucking fault?
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you know, like, and that at that time, like, you knew that it wasn't your fault. Like, as much as like you struggle, like, I mean, we all do to varying degrees, like, experience that shame, that embarrassment, that blaming yourself. I'm so fucking glad that you knew, like, on some level, like, this was not my fucking fault, and like, this was a betrayal, this was an assault, and this man is a fucking rapist. And all of these people that are sitting around him are enabling him, and all of them betrayed me as well. Like, and I'm so fucking glad that you got to, like, say that to his face.
I think that was my most proudest moment, because I was like, I don't think if I had said it to him, I would have healed in some way, because I would still be blaming myself deep down or wondering or being ashamed. So I'm glad I faced him. I'm glad I said what the fuck I said. And because in my head I was like, why the fuck am I the one hiding while he still gets to be out and do his shit and move softly? So it became that anytime I would meet somebody with that person, I tell him, be careful with him, he's a rapist. And I didn't care. And at one point he came to me and was like, you need to stop saying that, otherwise. I'm like, please do, because I could sue you too. And
Yeah.
I have evidence. Somebody saw you on top of me with my panties down. So it's not just that he said, she said type of shit.
No.
And just because you apologized, and your apology itself is, I was drunk. It's not like you took ownership. It was just like, I didn't rape you, I was drunk. I don't care if you did it or not. You were about to do something on a person who was blacked out in a room. And you were somebody I trusted.
Yeah.
So it took a while, and the other part is, I didn't wanna also go through all that, because my dad loves the hell out of me. And if my dad had known at that time, boy, that boy would have. And mind you, my dad is a lawyer back home, so you like, so I also didn't want to put my dad through that process, because my dad would have started worrying so much about me, especially me being also in a different country and all that. So,
Mm.
but one thing I'll give myself is, I'm glad I stood up to him at the end of the day. I'm glad I said what I needed to say. And um, that shit felt so good. And somehow, eventually, when I started getting over all the shame, the blaming, I came to realize that at every situation, you have to take the lesson that it brings into your life. And that shit brought a lesson that you're in college, you're a teenager. Drinking was what, drinking, blacking out. Who didn't do that shit in college? So it's not like, you know, but also it made me learn to know my limit, or also to learn how much to drink when I'm around certain people.
Mm.
And it reminded me that going home is always the best option,
Mm.
because I trusted these boys, and I thought, this was our house. We have hanged out at that house so many times. So it was like, me sleeping in a room when I'm drunk shouldn't have been an issue or an opening for somebody to be on top of me.
Mm.
But and it had also brought me to take my ownership. Like, not my whole face and all that made me learn that sex isn't something to be ashamed of. Because sadly, most people, when they get raped, they start hating the idea of sex as well. Because you go through that shame and you start hating that deed, because every time it brings you like somebody took that away from you.
Mhm.
But I had to learn to take power in that, instead of allowing it to victimize me. Oh, so I was like, okay, so y'all think sex is the shit. Okay, so let me empower myself by that. So I'm grateful. I just wish I didn't have to have gotten to that through that way, but it did get me to be a much stronger woman, and learning how saying no, even if I've made out with you and I've played with your dick, doesn't mean that I have to fuck you. Even if I decide to foreplay with you, doesn't mean that we have to go all the way. And even if I wear a short skirt or drink too much or flirt with you, doesn't mean that you have to fuck me. And that
Yeah.
empowerment was something else. And I don't think, maybe I would have, I don't know, but I try in every situation to find the outcome of it, the best outcome of it. And I think this was the best outcome for me and for the person I am. I wouldn't want to have gone through that to find it. But yeah, that man doesn't get credit out of this shit. And since then, um, I still have that regret of not going to check, of not actually handling it on the first spot. So, but I truly, 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 from the bottom of my heart, wouldn't have been able to go through this shit without comfort. That's my sister who listened, hugged, cried with me, never judged me, and whatever I wanted to do, she was willing to be okay with it. And I appreciate her for trying to push me to go get checked and file police report and all that, because that's what I want for any other woman to do. Fuck these niggas or bitches, whoever ends up putting you in that position. But you will regret not taking those steps. And a few years later, one of somebody I know got raped by somebody I know. And she didn't tell me when it happened because she knows how this shit means. And when she finally came and told me, my first thing was like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? And she was like, Paula, you would have killed this person. And I would have made a report, and she didn't want to make a fuss about it. She didn't want her family to know because she was going through the same emotions I was going, the feeling embarrassed, the feeling shitty, because it was the same. You trust this person, and this person we know. And he gave her a ride home and she was drunk and he took advantage. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to smile at that person. I went off on that person. I'm like, I know you don't want people to know, but you can't also make me shut up and not go off on this person. I'm a respect all your other wishes, but, and I told her, I wish you would have filed and gone. I know it's embarrassing. I know you feel embarrassed, but you were not in the wrong. So I feel like maybe if I had done that from the early on, maybe when she went through it, she would have been able to do the same. So I know I've taken my time sharing my story, but I hope by sharing it, when somebody else goes through that, they take the action way in the beginning than later. Because maybe it would have saved my friend from feeling the shame and the embarrassment. Because it took her telling me that what she went through, then I told her my story. And in my head, I was like, if I had shared this way sooner, maybe she would have handled us a little bit different and not have felt that shame and that blaming and that what she. So, yeah, that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing it. And I know that you sharing it now is going to help people who maybe are tuning in, are looking for support, who have maybe just had this happen to them.
And I want
And
to say this, if you're out there and going through this or end up going through it, don't protect this person, because I hid for a whole minute because I was protecting this person, because of the shame I was feeling, because of the judging myself and questioning myself and blaming myself, while he was still out there living his best life when I wasn't in the fucking wrong. So what if I was drunk? So what if I passed out? That does not give a right to anybody to do anything to you just because you were drunk. And I wish I'd listened to my friend and taken action way earlier, because they deserve the consequences. They deserve whatever comes out from you sharing, you reporting, you doing that. And you should never feel sorry about doing that for yourself. And you heal a little, way more faster compared to putting it down there. And I wish I had somebody who had told me that.
Something that's worth mentioning is it's always and because we're having an international conversation right now, so this happened to you in a different country. It's always good to know what the laws are about reporting or about testing in your country, because in the US, in America, you you are able to go in and get the rape kit done, get the test done, and you don't have to file a report. You can and there is an advocate uh, that will be there with you when you get that done, and then they can hold on to that kit, to that evidence. And I can't I think it might depend on which state you're in, how long they hold that. Anywhere from like 6 months to 2 years. I think it increased to 2 years when a survivor like fought and took it to the courts. But they are required to hold on to that evidence, and you have that amount of time, like a year, 2 years. I will check, and I will put that in episode notes to clarify that. And you have time to wait, so you can file a report later while you decide what you want to do. But you do have that small window of time to get that kit done.
I wish
And
I had known that. For some reason, I thought when you go in to get tested, that means if the results come out, that means you have to report. So that was my
same.
fear. And the thing is also, our Malaysia is an Islamic country with all these weird rules. So I wasn't sure what the rules was. But then in my head, it was just like, if I get tested and I find that it's true, it wasn't the fear of knowing that if I was raped or not. It was the fear of it being reported and then everybody knowing, oh shit, she got raped because she was drunk. That judgment, that
Yeah.
embarrassment, all that shit. But I also have to find out the Malaysian laws or whatever. But if I had known that you can get tested and it stays for 2 years, that it remains confidential between you and whoever is checking you until you're ready, that gives you time to process, I would have definitely done it while I figured out my emotions and feelings and worked through that. But it's something good to know right now. So I tell if you're listening to this and if you end up getting raped, just get it tested. It's better to have the evidence than come and regret later, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you for real, I regret not reporting the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And that's a regret I'm going to live with for the rest of my life, because I can't do shit about it right now. But I can share my story.
This
But
is what you're doing it
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
but and again, to me, um I don't know if it was him finishing or starting. So there's that part that I'm missing, but it's always good to know. And I wish I'd found out and known to be intact and But still, fuck that motherfucker. Whether he hadn't yet done it, he still didn't need to fucking be on top of me, taking out my panties while I was drunk, sleeping.
That's
Mind you,
some evil shit.
I would understand if I was drunk and we were grabbing each other and shit. But dude, I had left the sitting room where everybody was chilling, walked to the bedroom to sleep. So sometimes I try to remind myself that I had taken out myself from that situation as best as I could, but you still came after me.
Yeah.
That was already wrong.
And you were alone, you were isolated. He thought, like, you can't tell. I don't give a shit if he was drunk. Like, that was, like, calculated as fuck. Like, he was
Exactly.
trying to take advantage. Like, you were
Exactly.
unconscious, you were alone. He thought he could get away with some shit. And that's what he
Eh,
was trying to do. I'm so glad that your sister, like, that your friend was there with you.
Oh yeah,
Um,
she doesn't get drunk usually. She can drink like whatever. And I think she saw him going and she wondered why it was taking a little bit longer, so she came to check. But also, the thing is, because me again, I tell people, like, anybody in Malaysia knows me. I used to, anytime I see I'm drunk, even whenever I would go home for vacation, I have literally lost, like, I would rather go home than continue staying when I know I'm drunk. So I always leave. That's my thing. But so I think maybe has always wanted to do it, but because I'm always leaving to go home, there's never, whenever I end up in a house party, I'm never that drunk, or I pass out in a sofa where everybody is. So this was the first time, like, oh, she's passed out and in the bedroom. So I feel like it was calculated because that opportunity finally presented itself, because I'm always going home, or maybe I might pass out in a sofa, but if we're in the sitting room and everybody's there, you can't do shit. So yeah,
that's some evil shit.
very much.
I'm so sorry.
And I don't even get it. How do you even enjoy? I don't know. I wouldn't even enjoy sex with somebody who's conscious.
That's some
Like,
sick shit. Like, what the fuck is
like,
wrong with these people? Like,
like.
I don't fucking, what the
I,
fuck?
I want both of us to be moving. I want to hear both of us mourning. I want to hear, like, how do we, like, it's a dead corpse. Like, what the fuck are you even enjoying? Like,
That's
just
fucking gross.
like,
God damn.
you really have to be screwed up in the head to think that fucking somebody who's blacked out even gives you pleasure or makes you
Yeah.
happy.
Like,
Like, what the
I
fuck?
have to think it's like it's using somebody as an object, like, for your own pleasure. And then there's also, like, the power thing and the violation thing on top of it. Like, like, if somebody's doing that, like, you are a predator and you are seriously fucked up. Like, I
Very, like, make it make sense. Like, what part of that is fun? I don't know.
ugh.
But yeah.
So, moving forward, like, like, you had that, like, telling him off, is that the major thing that helped you, like, moving forward? As I'm curious, like, how you moved forward and how you found strength, and what your healing journey has been like.
Oh yeah, telling him off, because I was hiding from them for a minute, right? I didn't want to go out. I didn't want them to see me. I didn't want to see him. But then I was depriving myself of a good time because of being scared to bump into him or to see his face. So when technically I did nothing wrong. So when I came to realize that, that's why I didn't even want to have like a one-on-one sit down with him. I was like, fuck no, I want to pop up while he's having and when I started saying the words and calling him a rapist and all, saying you raped me, and then he coming saying, oh, I didn't rape you, I was just drunk, I don't even know what I was doing. And I was like, well, you were trying to rape me, whether you didn't do it, you were still trying to. So me saying those words, and literally they were sitting outside in a club and I was saying it in front of, I didn't give a fuck who was there. So at that point, that's when I was like, I'm not like that really helped me, because at that point I didn't care who knew. I wasn't embarrassed anymore, because it came to realization to me, it's not my fault. It's your fault. I did nothing wrong. So telling it out, I don't think I would have felt better if I had a one-on-one sit down, because I would still be wondering, what do people know? What did he go and tell his boys? What did he, So me saying it right there outside a fucking club in front of everybody and just shouting, I was literally shaking. I felt like I was taking power of myself, ownership of myself, and that's the point where I was like, this shit
Gosh,
ain't gonna hold me back anymore.
that's incredible. I'm
It
so
felt
fucking
good.
glad you did that and that you like had that, and that's what he deserved.
He
He
did.
deserved to be called out in like in front of a crowd of people. Like that's like this story is like like this gives me life. You have no fucking idea.
And I think from there on, like being able to do that, no, it also taught me that throughout my life, to constantly stand up for myself, no matter who or what,
Yeah.
like to say my truth, like fuck you. So since then I haven't been, whether it comes to friendships or anybody, like I will tell you what the fuck I think was going on. Like I think it came from that moment there, because I felt like I took my power back, because for the longest he took my power, because I was the one hiding out, I was the one blaming myself, I was the one feeling embarrassed, I didn't wanna. But saying it there and not caring whether people could hear me, whether whoever is gonna think what, or what they're gonna talk afterwards, but I said my piece in front of everybody, and I said my truth, and I faced my my I no longer felt like a victim, and that was the most refreshing I felt. And after that, I didn't hold back. I started going out, just not with the same people. I started doing me loudly and proudly, and I started fucking for fun, loudly and proudly. Talk about taking my
Oh,
power back.
fucking love you, dude. Uh,
I love you too, bitch.
oh my god.
But yeah, so it was a healing moment for me. That's why I am, for whoever is going through this or will go through this, face that motherfucker. And don't do it in a meeting of one-on-one. Embarrass him in front of his people, his peers. Take your motherfucking power back and let him live in his shame.
Yeah. Because they deserve to feel, they should feel
Hell yeah.
shame. That's
Hell
the
yeah.
problem is that, like, they're living in the system where, like, where
Yeah.
they face almost no consequences, and
Why should
they're
I
not.
feel shame for something
Where,
you fucking did?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No.
Why is the shame on us? And like, we need to turn those fingers right around and
Yep.
shame these fuckers.
And it's so empowering. Like you feel so free after doing that. I felt free, and I just learned how to not live in my shame. Like, cause I was living in my shame. And after that, I learned not to live in my shame and do me. And it felt like a new me was born. Like after that, I did not give a fuck what people said, what they thought, what I don't give a fuck. I said my piece, and I told him, you should be lucky I didn't press charges, because my dad would eat you up. If I call my dad right now and tell him what you did, you in less than 24 hours you'll be in jail. So I'm giving you your freedom, but I'm still gonna shame you. You're gonna live freely, but everybody's gonna know what you did. So I shout. So anytime I would see him out and I would see with the guy, he's a rapist, and I'd walk off.
Good for you. That's what it takes. Like we should be sharing this information with each other. Like I'm a huge fan of when you like it's starting to happen in like women's bathrooms, like writing like a like men to watch out for, and like
Yeah,
having a list
the
and
wall,
everyone
yeah.
writes in like it's like no, like we need to know, like you know, like we need to be sharing with each other, like whether we're friends or not, whether we hang out or not, whether we like each other or not, like we should be telling each other who the rapists are, and calling them out, and making sure that everybody knows, like because we should all know.
And it's funny because me and him went to school together in Uganda, right? And I actually used to date. I think maybe this should have been a clue. I used to date his one of his friends, and in Uganda, it was a boarding school, and there was one day there was a blackout, right? And me and this guy, we had sex in the classrooms when everybody was supposed to be in the dorms because it was dark. So we kind of sneaked out, met in the classrooms, fucked. But then the next day, the rumors started going. Oh, Paula and him fucked in the classroom, and I was wondering where. So I stopped. That's when me and that boy broke up because I was like, if it was just me and you, who knew? That means you went and told your boys, and your boys spread it, or you spread it. Either way, I get it when boarding school in high school and you got excited about fucking your girl and maybe you shared it with your boys, but your boys didn't take your loyalty and they started going, because the boys always get the high five and then the girls are being looked at, even if that's your boyfriend at that time, but it's still like, and when you're in boarding school and these rumors are going, you can't escape them because it's not like a normal high school where you go home and then you come back the next day. You literally live together in that one for the whole semester. So there's no escaping it. Everybody is talking about it. And I was like, okay, so I fucked my boyfriend. Why is it such a thing? But it became a thing, and me and him broke up, right? And then good thing it was like 2 weeks to school ending, and when we went home for holidays, I threw a party, right, at my grandmother's house, and I swear, this is how Tanzanians are connected. This is why I never made a sex tape with a Tanzanian, because we are somehow so connected. So I was actually leaving my school in Uganda for good. I wasn't going back that semester. That's why to me I didn't care. Okay, let this news flow, whatever. I'm not coming back this semester. But I hadn't told anybody. Even getting a transfer letter from my principal, I told them I was applying for a visa to go to the UK to visit my family. So I just needed a letter to prove that I'm a student here and I'm coming back. But that letter was to go to look for a transfer school back in Tanzania. So when I was doing a party to celebrate, so I hadn't invited those boys because I was like, fuck them. Me and him broke up, and whether him or his boys, they spread the rumors. I don't care, so I'm not having them. But one of the other guys who I invited, who I know from back home, he's friends with those guys. So in Tanzania, you have a party, everybody invites everybody, it turns into. So they walk in, and I'm like, how the fuck are you even guys here? They're like, oh, we're friends with this. So the guys tried to kind of make things work, and I was like, sorry, no, you're going back there, I'm not coming back, I'm done with that school and shit. And at that time I hadn't even found a new school yet, like literally. My dad kept finding all schools for me, and every school I went to wouldn't let me in because the Ugandan system and the Tanzanian system was different. So if they wanted me to transfer, I had to redo the class, because in Tanzania, when you reach Form 2, which was known, you had to take a national exam, and in Uganda you don't take a national exam. So because I
Okay.
didn't have a national exam results, I couldn't go to the next class. I had to redo that. So every school I went wouldn't let me. Even though my grades were good, I had the paper, whatever. So finally, literally, my dad was about to leave in a week. School was about to start. I'd already told everybody in my boarding school in Uganda that I'm not coming back. I was like, Dad, I'm not going back. I already told everybody I'm not coming back. Like, so we went to this school which is known for the rich kids who don't want, who their parents just have money and the kids don't want to study, those schools which they're just known for. So we went. I didn't even see the headmaster. They're like, oh, you want to move here? What grade are you? My dad even said the wrong grade, and I could have actually climbed one class higher, but I corrected my dad. And they're like, okay, school starts on Monday. You can get the uniform here, pay the amount here. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? but because my
Okay.
dad, but because my dad was out of options, and he needed a boarding school because my dad traveled a lot, right? So he needed a boarding school where I could be at school for the whole week, and then maybe weekends come home when he's around. I was like, okay, this works. Fuck it. I was like, that is the easiest school I've ever gotten into. Like, they didn't
Which
even look at my
world?
transcripts. They didn't even look at shit. My dad paid right over there because he was scared if this was a scam. We went and got uniforms. Next thing I know, next week I was starting at this school. And I was like, okay, cool. So I never ended up going back. But then, now to think about it, that incident happened in Uganda, and this boy was friends group with that guy. So as he always wanted to fuck me since then because maybe he thought his boy got it easy. But in my head, I'm like, you do know I was dating that guy. Like, he was my boyfriend. But
Yeah.
everybody forgot the part of that was Paula's boyfriend. Was just like Paula fucked the guy in a classroom on a blackout. Like, that was the entire story. It was like, oh, but it was his boyfriend. They've been dating the whole semester. Oh, none of that. Nope. I was just like, huh. So maybe you're the one who also started the rumors because you literally just tried to rape me. But and so when we went back home, when after Malaysia, after that incident happened, after I faced him, when we went back home, I literally looked up all those guys who were his friends. And I told them, I was like, you're all friends. I don't know if you guys are still friends with this person, but he's a rapist. He raped me. And I and
Yes.
I, and I hadn't spoken to this guy in like forever. But my ex, that guy, ended up hitting me up and was like, "Hey, can we meet up? You wanna talk?" And he came. He was very sorry, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't talk to him anymore, but it's so sad that he did that to you. I'm sorry, whatever." It was very nice. We reconnected. He was dating somebody else, moved on with his life, and we talked about other shit. But I did that. Like, I was like, you think this is gonna end here in Malaysia? No, we are all Tanzanians. We are all going home. They're gonna know too.
You're my fucking hero. Swear.
And that was
Good for
all
you.
that was from because I was still really, really regretting not reporting him. So I was like, okay, since I can't report you now, I'm still gonna make sure that people fucking know. And it was like,
Yeah.
I'm no longer embarrassed. I'm no longer shameful. I'm no longer whatever. So, yeah.
Well,
And
and you leave the consequences up to the community. Like, and those are his consequences. And sometimes, like, you never know how, any of the legal stuff goes. Like, sometimes those can be heavier depending on the community. Those
yeah,
consequences can be heavier than like the actual consequences he could have faced in like a court of law.
yeah,
Never know. Who knows?
exactly. And the thing is, what was I gonna say? Also, the group, those boys who we all used to hang out with, I stopped hanging out with them
Good.
because, and I think that's when I started learning about cutting people off. I'm like, if you're all okay with it,
Then I'm not
I
okay
don't
with
want
you.
to. Yeah, and most of them were like, but how sure are you? Maybe we talked to him and talk. I'm like, because none of you even came and checked on me, asked me. And the fact that you're still hanging out, even if you had a talk to him or whatever, I don't give a fuck. You didn't have that same talk with me. So to
Yeah.
me, you are associates. Maybe you also helped him plan it. Because you seem very easy, cuckoo, kayaking. No, so fuck you all too.
Yeah,
And
I can't imagine, like, not at least having questions for you, like, what the fuck?
my friendship changed, and when I went back to Malaysia, I became a whole new person, new friends, new lifestyle, new word. I was even the one time I took my new friends to a Nigerian club, right? And everybody was like, "Oh my God, we haven't seen you for so long." I had literally been like 3 months. I haven't been to the club. Where have you been? I was like, I've been hanging with more real people who actually give a fuck. And it was
Good
my
for
last
you.
year in Malaysia, so I made those connections. Those people are still in my life today. We ended up going to France. We had a ball, and fuck that everything. But I feel like if I hadn't stood up to him, that shit would have. But I stood up to him, and I told everybody.
Good for
I told
you.
all of his boys back home, and it was nice for those who actually reached out, and but yeah.
Good for you. You deserve, like, real people. You deserve good people in your fucking life, and I'm so glad
We
that
all
you
do.
found them and that you took the steps that you needed to bring them into your life.
Yep, I'm big on that. That's why I tell people, if I'm negative to you, cut me off. Like, I'm big on everybody having the right people. When you're growing up, you want to have many friends. You think that having many friends is that makes you happy and shit. And then and I'm a friendly person. Like, literally, even when I was graduating, my dad was like, I don't know if I throw you a graduation party where I will do it, because you have so many friends that I don't know where I can host all of them. Like, I have friends who are way older than me, way younger than me, middle class. Like, I'm a very friendly person. I make friends with everybody, because in my head, I'm like, you never know where you're going to need this person. And as long as you're cool and fun, I will be your friend. I told my dad I don't want a graduation present. Just put me in the hotel. I stayed in a hotel right near my house. Like, literally from the hotel to my house, I could walk. And the day I was checking that hotel, they've never had as much noise when I was staying there. Because all my friends would come, would hang out by the pool, would play games, would drink, would swim, then would go out, would come back. We made so much noise. I wonder how they never threw me out. But as I was checking out to leave, the ladies at the reception, they're like, "So, where are you traveling from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Tanzania." They're like, "Oh, so where do you stay?" I was like, "Right around the corner." It's like, "Wait, why were you staying in a hotel?" I was like, "I didn't want a graduation present. I wanted to stay in a hotel for my graduation present." They're like, "Oh, we're gonna miss you. You made this hotel so lively, the amount of people that were coming in and out." So I've always been, people person and people pleaser and shit. And now I'm growing older and realizing half of the people in my life are just there for the good times. But when you're really going through shit, half of those are not. So that's when I started, you know what? I'd rather even have five fucking friends, but I know those fucking five friends will come through whether it's a good time or a bad time. And it took a
Yeah.
process, and now I'm this way. Now I'm like, cut people off. Like, even on my timeline, I unfollow people. I don't know. I don't care even if we have known each other since childhood. If your social media is just giving me negativity or shit I don't want to see, I will be the first one to hit and follow. Because I don't want that. Like, literally these days, my Instagram is filled with podcasters. Every time I roll, it's Podfest, Buzzpod, podcasters and shit, like, very.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
like,
and cutting people off is self-care too.
it
Like, it's a
really
form of
is.
self-care.
It really is. It really is. Because it's about getting rid of the negativity. And, if you want to live a positive life, you have to get rid of the negativity.
Mhm.
And in these 2 years, I've cut so many people off. And people would ask me, they'll be like, oh, I don't see you with this and this anymore. What happened? I'm like, I don't fight with people. Like, I love all my friends. I'm not fighting. I didn't argue. I didn't. It just comes a time where you realize you all don't serve each other's purpose. Like, we can love each other from afar, support each other, and just, it doesn't have to be that. And I'm telling people, I'm like, if you all are constantly telling people to leave toxic relationships and all that, and if people who have been married for 20 plus years can divorce and end their marriages and break up, what makes you think friendship is not the same? This shit, oh, my day one, my day one. If your day one ain't serving you, there is no point. And all this shit, Drake makes people feel stupid because no new friends, but the new friends I've made are more supportive than the old ones I've had for constant. So, no. Yes, new friends, yes, new connections, and fuck toxic friends
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
negativity.
Yeah.
But people
No,
don't
well
talk
said.
about that. They just talk about the relationship part. But it's the same with friendship.
It's so real. Yeah, no, like friends can be abusers. That's so real. I had to cut out an abusive friend. And and the friend breakups, like we act like romantic breakups are more important or more devastating. Like
Oh,
ending a
friend
friendship,
breakups
like it's
are,
just as significant, you know?
they're way worse than breakups, because breakups, you always, any relationship you start, there's always this part, well, it could go either way. That's why I'm all about prenup, because you never know. I will sign a motherfucking prenup, because I'm not saying I'm wishing for the end, but shit
Yeah,
happens. But with
sure does.
friendship, when you enter friendship, you never think about the end. You're just like, oh my god, we gonna be friends forever and shit. And you do a lot more with your friends, because guys come in and out. Your friends have been through, and I went through some shit with my best friend, and that shit was so painful. We are now back talking, but it's
Mm,
never the same, because at one point I feel like we were both toxic to each other, and we had to heal that. So we spent like a year without being in each other's life, and that was the most saddest shit. Even most of my friends who I've broken up with, it pains me more than any motherfucking breakup with a guy that I've gone through. Because I hold my friends, I love my friends way more. My friends are my family. Like, that shit pains me more. But people think, oh, she was just your friend, you're gonna be. No, that shit is painful. It's not easy getting rid of friends,
yeah.
or even finding that type of friendship again, because every friendship is rare in its form. You can find
Mhm.
that the love when you break up with somebody, you find a greater love. But with friends, you're finding that same connect. Every connection with friends is different. That's why you have friends for this type, you have friends for this type. Because so that shit is way more hard, painful than any breakup. Any breakup.
Yeah.
I'll cut off my family and I wouldn't even care much. But but
No, it's
yeah.
true. And you mentioned earlier in the beginning that you had kind of like reconnected with God in a way, and I wanted to make space and ask about that as well. If faith has been a part of your healing.
I grew up in a very you gotta go to church every Sunday family. My
Mhm.
dad was not a church person, but my mom was, and my grandmother on my dad's side was a very church person. She's a proper Catholic. She has met the Pope. She has gone to all the, like, she really is. And I think her prayers are the reason me and my family have survived most shit, because she prays. She sends me rosary that are being blessed. She sends me prayer books. Everything she sends you, she blesses it. She takes it to church for the pastor to bless it. Like, she's that woman. And she's very strict with a Catholic. Now, my dad was a Catholic. So naturally, we were supposed to be Catholics. But because my dad didn't go to church, and we went to church with my mom on our church, we became Anglicans. So the my grandmother was so strict that even the days we would stay with her and go to a Catholic church, we weren't allowed to take bread and wine, to drink the wine and take the bread, because we are not Catholic and it's not right. And
Oh, okay.
anytime we slept at our house, if you're going to sleep, don't tell her good night, because she'll make you say the prayer, the rosary throughout before you go to bed. So we would just
Ooh.
disappear and pretend we fell asleep because that shit takes long, bruh. So, when I went to Malaysia, I was like, I'm finally free. I don't have to wake up on Sunday morning and go to church. Like, I hated it. And, when you're forced into that life, you are like, no. So, even going through that, I did not pray on it. I did not work on it with God. My healing didn't, like, I just healed in my own gangster way kind of shit. But it took me, when I moved here, and I was going through a breakup, and that was the last time I dated a Tanzanian or a black person. Then I started dating white people. But he was my last one, and he emotionally abused me.
Mm.
But in my head, I was already over the relationship, right? So I was okay with ending the relationship. It was more what the relationship brought, because when I came to Atlanta, I didn't know anybody. My family was in DC. At that time, I was dating somebody in DC, so I was constantly back in DC and back to Atlanta for classes, back in DC. And then when we broke up, I decided, okay, and my family moved out of DC. I was like, okay, so DC is no longer home. So now I'm stuck in Atlanta. I now have to make friends in Atlanta. So then I started dating that guy who I met most of the people through him. So the breakup was like, fuck, if I'm breaking up with him, I'm gonna lose all these people because I knew them from him, right?
Mm.
So in my
Yeah.
head, it was that. So it wasn't about the breakup. I was ready for the breakup. Like, I didn't even cry for that breakup. I didn't miss it. I was just ready to get over it. But it was more like, oh my God, I'm going to be alone because people going to take his side and shit.
Yeah.
Because it was a good liar. It was a good manipulator. Like, but then I was also going through, so the depression, that's when I first felt the depression. And I didn't know who to talk to, because in my country you don't talk about depression or mental health or any of that stuff. And me and my mom were never close. Like, I'm so close to my dad. My dad knows every shit about me, but me and my mom have a very weird relationship and stuff. I can go 2 months without talking to my mom, but me and my dad, if it goes a week we haven't spoken, we start, are you okay? What is wrong with you? So, but I felt something told me this was a conversation I needed to have with my mom. So I called my mom and I was crying, being depressed and shit. And I was even talking to her about the breakup, because at that time the guy was trying to get back to me. And that was the sickest part, because I had even started talking to another guy. He found the messages. I owned up to it. But he still was like, we can make it work. But in my head, I'm like so checked out, like so checked out. This man, I was with him for almost a year and some change, and he had never bought me flowers. But after we broke up, I would get flowers almost every fucking day, and cards and letters. And so I was telling my mom was like, now that he knows you have found somebody else who's trying to get back into you to isolate you again, you've already left. Don't take him back. It's not going to change. But gladly enjoy those flowers. Put them everywhere, bathroom, toilet, everywhere. Enjoy the damn flowers. That's why until today I hate I'm sorry flowers. Like, if you're fighting with me, buy me jewelry. Don't buy me flowers. Flowers are supposed to be for good time. Don't. So then I was telling her, I'm feeling depressed. I feel alone, homesick and all that. So she told me, Paul, I know you checked out with God for a minute. Start praying, see how that goes. I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. And I started praying. I downloaded the Bible app on my phone. I would read Bible verses, and I just started praying slowly. And every time I prayed, I felt lighter. I still haven't been a person, like, I'm still lazy going to church, but every now and then I do go. But I pray almost every day with my Bible app. I have plans. Even on my social media stories, I normally post if something I know it could help somebody that I read and I felt a certain way, I would post it. But every time I prayed, I felt lighter. Every time I prayed, I felt lighter. So I just kept on going. And that's why even when I go through shit, like, I'm a overthinker, I'm a warrior, and it took me a moment to stop doing that, because every time I would read, it was like, if you have faith in God, you gotta let go. And I've realized that every time I pray on my problems and let it to God, and I don't worry, somehow, somewhere, it figures itself out. So that's why I'm trying to practice less worrying, even though, trust me, it's not as easy as people say. Don't worry about it. It's not that easy. It is not that easy. Let's stop lying about that shit. Like, we are, especially if you're an overthinker, you're constantly worrying in your head. So, but I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm practicing. So, yeah, I'll tell anybody, like, whatever you believe in, whether it's God, whether it's practicing meditation, yoga, reading, whatever it is, have more faith in that power, and prayer works for me. So that's how my relationship was. But it had nothing to do with that. This came way later. At that time, I was just a gangsterhood. I'm gonna figure this shit out. I'm gonna figure it out. And I found it out, because I don't know. God would have probably told me to pray for him, and at that time I was not in the mood to pray for no nigga who was trying to rape me. So no.
It comes to you when you're ready, like, and when you need it. And I'm so glad that, like, if that's helping you, that you've, like, reconnected with that, and that it's helping you, and that you have that in your life. And
Yeah,
thank you for talking about it, because, you know,
yeah, and I
yeah.
tell people, because I've had friends who pressure religion on you, right? Who, because they found God and they're constantly preaching on you and shit. That shit doesn't work. And that's why I think most of us will force these kids to constantly go to church and do those shit. When we finally left home or anywhere, we kind of like, fuck this, because now I don't have, nobody's pressuring me. So I think, and that's why even me, when I found God, I don't push it on people. Like, I feel like I found it at my own time without anybody pushing. Yes, my mom told me try praying, but she didn't be like, you gotta pray, you gotta, she just said try it, and I tried it, it worked. But I was ready. I was looking for something to help me, and I tried it. So it's something, even when my friends are like, I'm like, do you pray? They'll be like, no. I'm like, okay, cool, but try it, but no big deal. Like, I don't be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
believe in God, trust God. Like, no. And I will pray for you, but I won't enforce it. And I think when you don't enforce it to people, people find it in their own time when they are ready, because they gotta be ready. You can just tell people, oh, you have to find God, and no, people have to be willing and ready for that. From
Yeah.
everything, it's a journey. Just like how we're constantly preaching on people, oh, you gotta leave a toxic relationship, but we are not in their shoes. People are ready to leave when they are ready, when they reach their breaking point. We say, it would never be me, but you don't know. And I have been a victim of that. I've said those things, and I was in a situation where I was like, fuck, I remember I said something like this, but look at me here still trying and shit. So every shit is different, Don't just because you were able to, everything is in everybody's time and process and willingness and their breaking point. To me, that was my breaking point where I was like, okay, I need to try prayers. So,
Yeah. Well, and it's, like, the whole, like, forcing it on people thing. It's like, it's so much better when it's time, when it's, like, whatever it is, like you said, like, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's this, maybe like, it'll take the form it needs to take, like, and it needs to have the freedom, like, to take that form for that person to actually be helpful, instead of someone just, like, cramming like a Bible down somebody's throat. It's like,
oh
that's
yeah.
no
I,
thank
I
you.
I have a friend whose religion was a little bit different from mine. But the way she would shove it and stuff, I stopped talking to her. I was like, listen, you found it because we grew up together and you were never like that. And now you found it, that's good for you. But don't force it on me. Or even me, because now I pray a lot. And some people who are so called Christians judge me because okay I pray but I also like getting my tarot cards read, or I believe in stones, and I'm like, what does one have to do with each other? You all keep on saying there's one God, but then you all feel certain different ways when somebody is practicing something else. Why can't I believe in God, pray, and also explore tarot card reading and explore being in love with stones and all the crystals, and what's so wrong about that? So, and that's why I think most people end up hating Christianity, because have some Christians, when they feel like they have figured it out, start judging people for, and then also this thing of picking what things to throw about. The Bible says a lot of shit. So you can do one shit, and then because somebody else is doing another shit, which is also not allowed, you're pointing fingers. But also the shit you're doing is also in the Bible that says don't do it, but you're here. So these perfect Christians or whatever make it hard for other people to actually even enjoy religion or find God, because you all have this way or it should be this way. Let people experience God or crystals or tarot card, whatever way they want to. At the end of the day, we're all gonna face the big men at our own time. We're gonna answer for our own shit. So worry about yourself. Just be
Yeah.
happy that somebody has found something that they resonate with, or it helps them heal. Yes, I pray, I believe in God, I have faith in God, and I'm still going to get my tarot cards read. I'm still going to buy crystals and believe in crystals. I'm still going to meditate. And if I get my palm read, I'm still going to do it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to drink. I'm still going to have unmature sex, and I'm still going to cuss. And that's me. Take it or leave it.
Right on. Yeah. No, and that's between you and God. Like, I get really tired
Exactly.
when it's like someone's trying to have a relationship with God, like whatever name that God goes by, like whatever you believe in. Like, I get really tired when like other people try to like involve themselves with that person's like, what are you like? I'm talking a source. Like, get out of the way. Like, shoo. Like,
That's
just
their personal relationship. Stay
involve
away.
yourself.
Yeah, you deal with your own relationship. If you think you have the perfect relationship with God because you do it, that's good on you. Do it right over there in your corner.
Go ahead.
I'ma do my own.
You think I'm doing it wrong? Like, okay, you can go think that over there. Go sit. Like,
We all we at the end of the day, when we all reach up there, we all have our own answers to answer. Nobody, we're not all gonna be carried in one bus and taken to God in front of everybody. No, we all have our time. We all answer our own shit. We all deal with our own shit. So, and they
yeah.
make it seem like just because I'm sinning this is a little sin, yours is big. Since when did you even know how sin is measured? Sin is sin. So if you're sinning, I'm sinning, we're all sinning. It doesn't matter what kind of sin I'm sinning. That's why sometimes people fucking hate religion, because they're especially Christianity and especially Catholic, they're the most judgmental human beings. And you wonder why people don't go to church, because you all are judging people. And church is supposed to be the place where it's the safe space for people, accepting people with whatever demons you have. But you are constantly judging, and you wonder why people don't come to church. Make it make
Well,
sense. And you're
and
supposed
it's
to be the
fascinating.
Christian.
Yeah. Well, and it specifically says like, like thou shalt not, like, don't judge other people. Like that. Pretty sure that's written somewhere, and
And
like
I mean,
y'all are
I
just
mean, have you listened to the
never
stories in
met
the
me in real
Bible?
life.
Have you listened to the stories in the Bible? If God even healed a whore who had a story of a whore, so what if she was a whore? She's now changing her life and coming to church. Why are you all still bringing it up? What if she's a stripper and she still comes to church? She has to make money and figure it out. So what? She's coming to church to find her way with God. Nowhere in the world that says strippers, whores, or whatever are not allowed to church. Let people be. Let people figure shit out themselves with their God.
Yeah.
That's why I
Mind
can't
your own
handle
business.
Christian. Exactly. Like, but people don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh.
We just went to church. Amen.
Thank you for talking about that. Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I had an episode last season for Easter, and I talked to these two young girls who are very out there living their authentic self. Like, they still do very much teenage stuff, but they still preach on the word of God and stuff. So we were talking about modern Christianity and stuff. And I was so impressed with these kids who are like in their early 20s, and knowing that I can be a Christian but still enjoy going out and being, and doing that. And it was a very interesting conversation. It was one of my longest. It had part 1, 2, and 3, but I felt so amazing to hear that people, the Christian, like, people who are into Christianity are also evolving and not sticking to that. Oh, because I'm a Christian, or I'm going to church, I shouldn't do this, so I'm gonna judge other people. And when you see them on Twitter, they be talking shit too, and I love it. I'm like, yes, you can love God and still be yourself and live life.
Well, I mean, like if you're full of love, there
That's all
should
that
be
matters.
abundance and joy. Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Why are you so bitter about preaching God? Even God don't like bitter people. Come on now.
yeah. No,
Embrace
like
people for who they are and love them.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah. I get very frustrated with I mean, frustrated is a very nice word for for what I get about it, but specifically like certain sects of American Christianity. It's like y'all claim to be filled with God's love, but you are the most bitter, hateful folks I have ever had the misfortune to come across. And
Thank you.
like you said, make it make sense. Like,
Thank you.
what
Thank
the fuck?
you. the,
Fix it.
the, the Christians, when they listen to this side of the episode, they're going to hate you.
I promise that like there are not that many Christians listening to me, my friends. They are not fans. And that's okay. That is not my
Listen,
audience.
listen. I'm a Christian and I'm your friend, and I love the hell out of what the fuck you're doing and what we're talking about now. So there you go.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Oh my god. Um oh my goodness.
Too much laughing in this.
Oh my god. Is there anything that you want to say to the survivors that are listening today?
Yes. So it's not your fault. You did nothing wrong. So stop beating yourself up. Stop feeling shameful. I know, even though I'm saying it, I know it's going to be hard because I was there, but I'm literally telling you, it is not your fault. You did nothing wrong. And face that motherfucker, because it will make you feel way good. And if you can do it in public in front of people, fucking do that, because sometimes the system fails us. And that shit hurts when you have to go through all that and the system fails you. So take action in your own hands. Don't do anything that will take you to jail, because that means he's also winning. But stand up for yourself in any way you can, because that's going to also help with the healing. Otherwise, you're going to keep suffering. And the more you keep suffering, the more he's winning. The more he keeps winning. And also remember, there are people out there who are willing to help. So find someone to talk about it to share it with, to help you go through this. Because I don't know how I would have been able to survive if I had gone through this alone, even though at that point only one person knew. But she was her rock to me. And I don't think we have talked about it since then, but which reminds me, I need to go and call her and be like, oh my God, thank you. But she was amazing, supportive, and ready to fight that battle with me. And if you have that person in your life, let them know it, let them help you go through that battle, and take the test. Trust me, when you're ready to take action, you don't want to have regrets. And you are beautiful, nothing is wrong with you. Fuck him or her.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
No,
And
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
giving me the space to share. Thank you for making me laugh and cry. But more laughing than crying. But thank you for making it so safe for me to feel safe to come on here and share this story, because I've never shared this story. So I appreciate the hell out of you. It's that soothing voice. She made me. She didn't even ask me. I was the one like, I'm gonna come and share my story, and I was like, fuck. It's that voice. But no, your platform, what it does, and you just being open with how you handle it, whatever I want to share, whether I want to be known or not known, whether I want my name out there. Like, you make it easy for me to want to share my story. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm like, I can't tell you how just like deeply honored and how moved I am that that you chose this space to share for the first time. Like, that's so incredible, and thank you so much.
Oh, you
I just
know,
appreciate it so much.
if I had to come and share my truth, I'm glad I did it over here. I know I'm not looking forward to the day this episode airs and people hear it, but you know that feeling where you're kind of excited and nervous at the same time? But I'm like, oh my God, like, because right now we're just recording, so the day it actually airs, but you have made your episode such a safe space that I know it's the right platform for me to share my story and let people know what the fuck happened to me. Then it's gonna shock a lot of people, because but I'm ready. Fuck that nigga.
Well, and they're also gonna learn like even more fully how fucking incredible you are, you know?
Hell yeah.
So
I'm ready for people to hear my story, and to whoever it might help, and whoever might learn something out of it. And because it's not something that's going away. And I want just people to know out there, because one of the biggest thing I felt was the shame and the embarrassment, and that shouldn't be something you feel when you go through that. So people
no.
need to hear that, and I'm grateful I could come on here, and for you to giving me the platform to come and share the story. And I'm hoping it at least helps one person out there.
It will. It will. And thank you.
Woohoo!
Your heart is a muscle the size of your fist. Keep on loving, keep on fighting.